Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear student. Today our lecture is about the role of grammar in the English communication skills. So first of all, before going to start our today's lecture, we will revise the previous lecture. In previous two lectures, we have learned about the intonation, falling, rising, and falling, rising tones, and in the part two, we have discussed about the structure of the tone unit, and we have learned about that the structure of the tone unit, that in every tone unit have uh, four uh, uh, what you can say, that every tone unit has four parts, and the prehead, the head, the tonic syllable, that is called the nucleus, and the tail. Then we have discussed the each part with different example, so it is not so difficult. It is a very simple topic, and you can, I think so, uh, you understand each uh, the part of the unit with simplest examples. Then we have discussed about the tone unit and the structure of the tone. The tone is the overall behavior of the pitch, and pitch is the frequency of the vibration of our vocal cords. And the tone unit, for purpose of analyzing intonation, a unit greater than syllable one syllable, usually tone. Unit is always composed to more than one syllables. Tone is the major pitch movement within the tone unit. The overall behavior of pitch is tone. And then we have discussed about the pitch movement in the tonic syllable. So tones are divided into two classes: static tone and kinetic tone. Static tone, a syllable is pronounced on a level, no pitch variation, and kinetic tone change in pitch on physiological level by tension of vocal cords. And then we have discussed the in the holidays, list of five annotation choices for the falling and rising tone movements, and their tone symbols, tonic movement, and terminal pitch tendency. So uh, then we discussed the each one with examples. The examples of rising and falling intonation. A rising intonation pattern would simply be a rise in the human voice. It would be a change in pitch, a glide in the pitch of our voice upwards. For example, the rising intonation, when we tend to use this rising intonation pattern when we are asking question, so the pitch of our voice tends to go up. For instance, uh, when does meeting start? Start, start. So the word start here, your voice is when you're asking question. Uh, so the pitch of your voice is tends to go up. When does the meeting start? Start. So this is the simplest. Here the rises up. It comes up in the voice. Would you like would you like a cup of tea? Would you like a cup of tea? So here the word tea is rises up. So this is the simplest example. Then we have taken the example of falling intonation. For example, a falling intonation or downward intonation pattern would simply mean that the pitch of the voice drops down, and it is also listen. These are oftenly in the when you are making the statement or in the exclamation, like that's wonderful, that's wonderful, my voice is dropping down, that's wonderful. That's uh, one instance in which we would use a falling intonation. In another example, we have discussed the commands in another situation. So I would say like this: put that down, put that down, go over there, stand against the wall, put that over there. So in all these sentences, my voice is dropping down. Then at the end we have discussed the circumflex inflection. Aside from the rising and falling intonation, there are more. There is something called the circumflex inflection, and you don't need to remember that name. It's a posh name. Circumflex inflection. It's basically it stands for pitch that rises, falls, and then rises, and the very end. Uh, when do we use it? When we actually the use the rising and falling interaction is talked about the quiet, but mm, uh, when you are in a speech, when you are in a presentation, and somebody try to interrupt, then it will use the circumflex inflection. So and somebody tries to interrupt you when you are in the middle of your conversation, so it would be like, then it would be like the sound is like this. uh, uh, Sometimes so it goes up, down, up, rise, fall, rise. uh, uh, and the example is like this. I try to do that now while I'm talking. What it suggests to you is that I haven't quite finished yet, and you will know when I'm finished because I am going to use this downward inflection and it falls. In, if you are in the middle of your conversation and you don't want anyone else to butt in your interrupt, but or interrupt you, then using this circumflex inflection, uh, like, hey there, I haven't finished what it is that I'm talking about. Don't interrupt me yet, but now I have finished and you can reply. So this is simply circumflex inflection. So this was our previous lecture, and also you have learned a lot. So today we are talking about the role of grammar in the English communication skills. Uh, as you know, the grammar in English communication skills, in every language there is a grammar to understand the language. So when you are learning and when you are trying to learn something new language, then these are some basic rules and regulations that call that to try to understand that very language, that called the grammars of that very language. So without proper grammar we won't be able to speak correct English. Without correct English we will never be understood, or the meaning of the sentences will keep on changing even after we have understood the nuisance of communication and how to pronounce the language of English. Phonetics involved. Our English will not be correct without proper grammar, and you cannot communicate your message to other person without the proper grammar. You cannot deliver proper speech, you cannot present your idea, you cannot market yourself, even you cannot give the good interview for your job if you don't know the basic grammar of communication skills of whatever the language you are going to speak. Grammar gives a sense and meaning to our sentences. Without grammar, it is like a group of words, but with the application of grammar, they become useful sentences where the message is clearly understood and comprehend. Hence, it is proved that the basis of all the four language skills, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, is sound grammar. Unless we know the rules of grammar, we will not be able to formulate correct sentences. As a result, therefore, we will not be able to express our ideas in the right perspective. As grammar is a huge topic, it is practically not possible to go for a detailed study on all the aspects of the English grammar. We will have a bird's eye view over various topics which are essential for the proper communication function. So it is very difficult to, because our subject is communication skills and the presentation skills, so we are not discussing here, and I'm not teaching you the basics of the grammars and the basics of the language, and the ABC of the language, and the rules and regulation, that how this is not the start of your that you are learning the English language, but we are trying here to go for all those important part of the grammars that would be very necessary to communicate to for the good pronunciation, for good communication skills. So a basic understanding of functional grammar and style is essential for effective technical communication. This discussion is just a short does on functional grammar. It illustrates important grammatical concepts and explains problem areas and understand grammatical practices. Now let's understand what is grammar. This is not a new word for you. You are familiar with the word and you know what is the grammar of the English, and you even when you are because grammar is not only used in a communication skills, in verbal communication, but it is also used in oral, written, and whatever the communication you are using, you are in interact with the English language. So this is not new for you. This you already learned a lot about the grammar, but we will go through here from the some important aspects of the grammar that are very necessary in the communication skill, in your presentation skill. So it is a set of rules which is followed to speak and write a language correctly. It is different for different languages across the world, but there is a prescribed grammar for the language of English, which we shall follow. Like language, grammar is also continuously evolving and changing. So this is uh, the the rules and regulations for the language skill, even for English language, are not uh, set from the day first when the language started. It is evolving and changing with the passage of time, with the need of the time, and so uh, to learn about the proper grammar, you should go through the to read different books and to interact with the native language speakers. So, in order to speak grammatically correct English, one must follow the contemporary English grammar, and there are a lot of books. You can find out the English grammar and composition. Wren and Martin books is, I think so, very good book, and I think so you are familiar with this book and you uh, read this book. This is a good book for the grammar and composition. Why grammar is required? It helps us in proper sentence structure. It drives a complete meaning to the sentence. The language spoken or written by us can be understood universally if it is grammatically correct. So, uh, if your word, your speech, your message is grammatically correct, your answer is grammatically correct, then it would be easy for anyone to understand. Finally, it helps in communicating effectively as it is able to produce desired meaning from the sentence. It is well accepted and proper response is available, and the process of communication can be completed fruitfully. In English language, letters 26 frames words, and words are connected with each other following the rules of grammar to make meaningful sentences. Word is a group of letters combined together to form some meaning. So, word means a group of letters combined together to form some meaning. So now let's start here from the grammar. First of all, we are going to learn about the sentences. What is sentences and what are the different types of sentences? There are four types of sentences. Number one, assertive, and that is you can say the declarative are statements are assertions. So assertive mean that declarative sentences are the statements or assertions. And number two, the interrogative, asking question either with who words or with otherwise. Interrogative mean you are related to the interrogation, asking questions. And number three, the exclamatory, expressive. Exclamatory mean related to your feelings, and your you are you are you are going to express your feelings about your sadness, happiness, like this is called exclamatory. And the imperative mean command or request. You are going to say someone in a command. So let's have each one of the explanation with with one by one with example. Number one, assertive sentence. I am going to London. I am going to London. He is a good singer. Statement, simple statement. Ali is on the job. So this is a declarative. You are declaring something. I am going to London. He is a good singer. This is a statement. Ali is on the job. This is a statement. So number two, interrogative sentence. What is your name? You are asking question, interrogation. How old are you? Can you please help me? So this is related to the asking questions. Simple. And number three, exclamatory sentences. Wow, what a nice picture. So here you are showing or expressing your feelings. Oh, what a terrible. So you're feeling in happiness, in surprising, in sadness. So whatever the feeling you feel from the surrounding and from the experience of your life, then you would express in the exclamatory sentences. Number four, imperative sentence. So you are commanding uh, to someone, get out of my class, shut the door please, fetch me glass of water. So there are a number of examples. So this is for your understanding. I think so you already know these are the basics grammars. So I am not here going to teach you the basic grammars or the ABC or in detail everything, but I am go through with all these things that are necessary in the communication skills. Sentences can be broadly divided into two parts, subject and object, and number two predicate. Number one subject and object, and number two predicate. The part of the sentence which names the name of the person or thing or denotes the action is known as subject. So this is very easy. The part, and number two, the part which tells about the subject is known as predicate. So the sentences can be broadly divided into two parts: the subject, and number two, the predicate. So subject and subject means the sentences which names the name of person or things or denotes the action is known as subject, and number two, the part which tells about the subject is known as predicate. Parts of the speech. Parts of speech refers to the classification of words into 8 groups. Apart from these 8 parts of the speech, there are three articles: a, an, and the are also found in sentences. Various parts of the speech present in a sentence has been discussed separately in the coming paragraph. It is easy to know the definition of each of these groups, but it is better to understand them in the proper context, because they groups of words function together to communicate meaning. Noun. The words which are used to name a person, thing, place, idea, or feeling is known as a noun. These are the important words in a sentence. The sentence revolves around them. The meaning the sentence proposes in relation to the noun. There are many further classification of noun, and you know all these in your basic grammar class. You have already learned all these things. Even in your uh, previous academic history, you even learned about a lot in language, English language, and these are the those grammars which are very basics and taught to you in every class. Pronoun. It is the word in a sentence which represents the noun in the absence of it or supports the noun when it is present in the sentence. Verb. These are known as the action words. They denote the action of the subject. It is the most important word in a sentence. Any sentence is not viable without a verb. This word tells us something about a person, place, or thing. So today we will discuss a lot about the verb, and I'll tell you things. So I hope so that you will learn something new about the verb and what is the importance of verb in a sentence and in your communication and in your speech and your writing. So this is a very important. And number next, the adverb. It is a word that adds more information about a place, time, manner, cause, or degree to a verb. An adjective, a phrase, or another adverb. A typical adverb can be recognized by the ly suffix uh, consecutively. So suffix that has been attached to an adjective, but one must remember that all words ending with ly suffix is not an adverb. It can be an adjective. So adjective, uh, this acts like artist in a sentence. It praises the noun. It is a word that qualifies or describes the noun. It can also give the number by quantifying. It gives extra meaning to the noun by adding some meaning to the noun and justifies the capabilities of the noun. Prepositions, they are fixed in number. They are words which denotes the relationship between the subject and object, things, person, or conditions. In a sentence, use of wrong prepositions can make the meaning of the sentence different. There are two kinds of prepositions, simple and complex. So every rules is very important, and if you miss the rule and if you don't know the rule of the grammars, even if we talk about the preposition that are so important, if you don't use the prepositions in your sentences while you are writing something and while you are delivering your speech, then your message would be incomplete and it would not be easily comprehend or understand to the your audience or your uh, the person you are communicating the message. Conjunction. These are words which comes into play while joining two words, phrases or clauses and even sentences. They work like cement in a sentence. Interjection. These type of words express sudden feeling. In addition to the parts of speech, there is one more type of word that is mostly found in a sentence, that is articles. They are used in a sentence to clarify if a noun is specific or not specific. They are short words, they may be found in almost every sentence. They include a and an, indefinite articles, and the definite article. So we should know how to use them correctly because the wrong use of an article may cause a serious grammatical mistake. Articles are like salt in cooked food, they are always there. So the articles are very important, and when you are you don't know how to use correctly in your sentence, in your speech, in your writings, so it would be cause a very serious grammatical mistake. Verb. So now here it is the main discussion of our today's lecture, verb, and this is very important, and you already know about the verb and you already learned a lot about verb, but here we would try to learn something new. One must understand the importance of verb in grammar as well as in communication. Without the correct form of verb, the meaning of the sentence may change drastically. There are many forms and frames present in the category of verb. One need to be master in it in order to become a fluent communicator of English. Without proper knowledge of verb, we are bound to make mistakes which can harm the process of communication. It acts as the nerve center of a sentence. Similarly, it is very much important in the application of the sentences. Sentences are the base of all verbal communication. So, all the sentences are based on verbal communication. Without verb, your sentence is incomplete and you are not you it would be difficult to understand or to comprehend. Verbal communication, either in the form of oral or written, are dependent on verb. In both form, either in oral communication, in presentation, in speaking, it is important. Either you are writing, you are asking, you are answering the question, you are writing proposal, you are writing your message, or you are commanding something, or you are writing application. The verb is very important. So without verb, your speech, your sentence is incomplete. Functions of a verb. A verb is a word used to tell or assert something about a person or thing. The word has been derived from Latin word verbum, that means a word. So this is a Latin word and derived from the Latin word, and it's mean simply a word. The three major functions of verb are number one, a verb tells us about the action of a person. Simply, we learned in our junior classes uh, that the verb is a word that tells us what a noun does. So simply, we what I have learned in my previous classes in I think so you have also learned like this. So simply, A verb tells us about the action of a person, things. For example, Adil is playing cricket. So here is the playing cricket is a verb. The nurse is talking to the patient. So simply, this is a very simple sentence and simple example you have already learned. What is done to a person or thing? For example, Haris is beaten by the police. So this is also a verb, and the pipe is molded to fix the hole. This is simple. What a person or thing is state of being. So something in the state of being, have you used the word? The cat is dead. So here is the verb is used in the state of being. The glass is broken. I feel sorry. So these are the static verb, like the example of the static word, the state, the being of the state of being. Static, static and dynamic verb. State verb, stative verb, state of affair that continues for a period of time. It never have a well-defined beginning or end. Words like remain, contain, know, resemble, continue, seem, etc. These are come under this category. So these are the stative verb, and the affairs that continues for a period of time, for a specific time. So these are the categories of stative verb. For example, she remained unconscious for a period of time. So this is a static form of a verb. Her handwriting resembles to that of Ramesh. Number three, it seems that you are not interested in the class. It seems that you are not interested in the class. Number four, the office will remain closed for Sunday. So this is the static verb and the state of being. In all these sentences, you can easily understand the state of being. Event verb or dynamic verb. A happening thought of as a single occurrence. There is a definite beginning as well as a definite end the event. Beginning and end reflects to time of action. Verbs like get, come, leave, hit, close, take, become, etc. come under this category. These type of verbs are dynamic in nature. They can change its form as per the need of the subject. For example, while going on the road, she became unconscious. So this is you are changing uh, the situation and changing the you are using the word verb in the changing situation of of your time of your sentence. She left home early in the morning. Mr. X has secured good marks. He left for New York. The office is closed for holiday. So these are the different examples of the event word or the dynamic word. The difference between state and event is the way we look into them and from the position of time. So it depends upon the position of time, and when we look over them, the same sentence can give two references at one time. For example, can you remember the story? The verb remember can act as both state and event verb depending on the context of the question. So here in this example, the verb can can be used for state verb and for the uh, both state and event verb as well. Some verbs can behave both as stative and dynamic depending on the time from where you see them. So, in uh, sometimes some verbs are used in different situations with time frame, instative and dynamic as well. For example, the bank is closed present time for Sunday. So now you keep focusing on the sentence. Uh, the bank is closed present time for Sunday. The bank is closed for Sunday. Event verb. We know that Sundays banks are closed. But when you use specifically this word, then it's mean there is a particular working hour for each and every bank. So maybe some banks open for Sunday for a specific time period for 1 hour, for 2 hour, for some reasons. So normally the banks are closed, but when we use here the bank is closed present time for Sunday even verb, we know that this is a particular uh, time period. So this is uh, the best example. The bank is closed out of time for strike, state verb. So here is the state verb and upper is the event verb. So the bank is closed out of time for strike. We don't know when the strike started until when it is going to continue. So here is the state verb simply. The distinction between state and event gives rise to the following verb meanings. For example, these are the best examples. Columbus was a Dutch sailor, state verb. Simply being state. Columbus discovered American, even verb, single occurrence. Number 3, Columbus continued with his voyage tirelessly. Event verb, repeated or habit word. This is another word we are going to add, the habit word. So the Columbus continued with his voyage tirelessly. This is the event verb and the repeated word. When an event verb has repeated occurrence, it gives rise to a new type of verb which is also called as habit verb. Habit verb is not a separate category of verb but as per the use in a sentence it is an offshoot of even verb only. That means a particular event is not in a static but it takes place repeatedly in a particular time frame. For example, he goes to school daily at 9 o'clock. So this is a habit verb that daily he is going to his daily go for walk, he daily go for playing cricket. So this is his habit. So this is another word we are going to add our conversation. The auxiliary system. The auxiliary system, finite and non-finite verbs. A sentence without a verb is meaningless. A verb can be primarily classified into two types: main verb, full verb, and auxiliary verb, helping verb. So, main verb is a word which denotes the action of the subject. It can range from any action to happening or event. For example, Zyver is going to school. Mohan was sleeping. So this is a main verb. An auxiliary verb, it supplements the main verb or supports the main verb. It comes into the force in the absence of main verb or sometimes supports the main verb. There are limited number 28 of auxiliary verbs. They are as follows. Number 1, be verbs. In be verbs is, am, are, do, did, done, was, were, be, being, been, has, have, had, and the modal verbs are may, might, shall, should, will, would, can, could, must, ought, need, dare, ought, use. So these are the 28 auxiliary verbs with two categories: be verbs and the modal verbs. A modal is an auxiliary verb used to express the mood of another verb or the mode of action denoted by the main verb. Modals include the auxiliary verbs shall, will, should, would, can, could, may, might, must, ought, need, and dare. Some simple rules need to be remembered in order to use models correctly. Models and its uses. Shall uh, now we will learn about that the how what are the model verbs we have already learned, and now what are its uses in our communication process. So shall is used for the simple future action, and will is also used for the future action, but it is something you are stressing on this: the promise, intention, threat, command, and determination. Would, past form of will, express request, express wish, hypothetical condition. It used for all these situations. Should, past form of the shall, express suggestions, must express obligation, ought express obligation, must and ought both are expressing your the obligation. Need express absence of obligation. uh, Need express absence of obligation. Dare used as a principal verb to mean challenge, to express venture. May, to express permission. Might, might as a past form in indirect speech, request for permission, express possibility and speculation about past action. Can, express permission. Could, can for present, and future could past for past, request for permission. Can for present and future, could for past expressibility. Can for present and future, could for past. Used, past habit. So these are the models and its uses in our conversation, in speech, in oral and written communication in English language. Finite verb and non-finite verbs. Finite verb: when the verb agrees with the subject in number and person, it is known as finite verb. This is otherwise known as the agreement of the verb with the subject. The verb shows the tense and number. A sentence that has a singular subject is accompanied by a singular verb. On the other hand, a sentence that has a plural subject should have a plural verb. The complex subject of the sentence is followed by a verb that agrees with the man noun in the subject. For example, the dog is barking, singular subject. 10 dogs are barking, plural subject. So these are the simple. There are some nouns that can be treated as both singular and plural forms. For example, the government has have announced its their new employment scheme. So this is related to the nouns. It can be treated as both singular and plural forms. For example, the government has have announced its their new employment scheme. There are various verbs that can be both singular and plural. Are school, class, department, team, university, press, public, crowd, firm, committee, community, family, generation, electorate, group, jury, orchestra, and the names of the specific organization such as the State Bank of Pakistan, PTCL, BBC. So these are used at the in the noun singular and plural as well. We use the singular verb if you see an institution or organization as a whole unit, and plural verb if you see it is as a collection of individuals. There are and there is not much difference in meaning, although in formal writing use of singular verb is more common, but in some contexts a plural form of the verb is needed. Non-finite verbs, when the verb doesn't need to agree with the number and person of the subject, it is known as the non-finite verb. A non-finite verb has the subject, tense, or number. They can be of three types: to infinitive, participle, present and past, and and gerund, noun verb. So they can be of three types: non finite verbs, two infinitive, number two participle, present and past, and gerund, noun verb. Infinitive and infinitive is a kind of noun with some features of the verb, especially that of talking an object when the verb is transitive. An infinitive verb is otherwise known verb noun. For example, they always find fault with me. Finite, finite. So this is a finite verb. They always find fault with me. They always try to find fault with me. Infinitive. So you can easily understand the difference between two sentences. Infinite, finite. The, they always find fault with me. Finite. What? They always try to find fault with me. So here we add another verb in this sentence. So this is infinitive. Though most of the times to is used with the infinitive, it is not an essential part or sign of it. An infinitive verb is not limited by person and number as a verb that has a subject and is called the verb infinitive or simply the infinitive. For example, to err is human. To err is human. Noun is the subject of the verb. To err is human. Noun is the subject of the verb. I lived in Germany to improve my German. Birds love to sing. To do our duty is divine. So these are some examples. Participle, present and past. Let's consider the following sentences. Rolling stone does not catch moss. Barking dog seldom bites. Hearing the noise, the boy woke up. Hearing the noise, the boy woke up. In the above sentences, the words in in the uh, with ing from seems as verbs but are not verbs. They are participles. They are set in the present tense but are not tensed verb in the present tense. So these are the participles. He was deceived by his friends. Finite verb. He was deceived by his friend. Finite verb. Deceived by his friend, he lost hope of life. Participle verb. Deceived by his friend, he lost hope of life. So this is the participle verb in the plus ed form. Here we add the word ed, deceived. So deceive a simple word and the deceived we add ed form. This type of participle verbs are set in the past but not tense verb in the past tense. Uh, driven Driven by hunger, he stole a piece of bread. Driven by hunger, he stole a piece of bread. So the word driven is the past form. So this is the participle verb. The example of participle verb. Gerund. Any verb with the plus ing form used as a subject of a verb and acting like a verb noun is called a gerund. For example, mediating. Meditating is her favorite kind of relaxation. Mediations. So somebody trying to mediate himself, and so this is her favorite kind of relaxation. In the given sentence, the mediating uh, is formed by adding ing to the verb uh, meditate. Hence, we understand that any verb. So, for example, meditating is our favorite kind of relaxation. In the given sentence, the meditating is formed by adding ing to the verb meditate. Hence, we understand that any verb that ends in ing and has the force of noun and verb is known as a gerund. In other words, when the verb is used as a subject of a verb and becomes a noun, it is known as a verb noun gerund. For example, smoking is bad for health. The child was tired of swimming. We were stopped from watching the match. Uses of gerund. A gerund being a verb noun may be used as the following. Subject of a verb. When it is used in the subject of a verb, reading is a good habit. And object of the transitive verb, when it is used in the object of the transitive verb, girls love making dolls. And when it is used object of a preposition, he is fond of singing. He is fond of singing. And when it is used in the complement of a verb, what is most detested is drinking. What is most detested is drinking. So these are the different examples, and so that's it for today, and hope so you have learned something new. And these are the rules and regulations, the basic grammar for very important for the communication skills. So that's it for today. Thank you very much.